Hello, Groff here with the Mystery Workshop to talk to you about the recent release of Starcraft 2 Wings of Liberty on July 27th, 2010. Wings of Liberty is the much anticipated sequel to Starcraft Brood War that was made about 12 years ago. Pretty huge game, pretty huge release, and it's going to be the first in the set of three that's going to expand the Starcraft saga. You're basically walking in the footsteps of James Raynor, and you're on the battlecruiser Hyperion. It is the Terran campaign for the new saga, and all the missions are predominantly Terran. There's a few Protoss missions thrown in there. There's no Zerg missions. However, all three races are playable for multiplayer. So it's 4 years after the events of Brood War. Raynor's in command of the Hyperion. He's got Raynor's Raiders with him, and they're fighting a rebellion against Minsk. Kerrigan hasn't been sighted in some time. Raynor has a serious drinking problem and some other emotional issues, and he still blames himself for the transformation of Kerrigan to the Queen of Blades and the leader of the Zerg Swarm. But mainly he's trying to rebel against Minsk now because he also has a vengeful thing for Minsk and hates him because he left Kerrigan to die basically on New Gettysburg. How all the missions are set up, especially early, is they are raider type missions. You go in, you're fighting Dominion forces, so on and so forth. I don't really want to talk about the story too much because I don't want to give anything away for you guys. It's an amazing story. You really need to play it. However, the biggest change for single player, I would say, is the way it is set up in general. After every mission, you'll go back to the Hyperion. You'll have 4 places you can go to on the Hyperion: the bridge, the cantina, the laboratory, and the armory. All these places serve their own purpose, not only for extending storyline. Be sure to talk to everybody because their dialogue will change after every mission, and if you want to get the whole story, you really need to walk around the ship and talk to people. But they're also useful for upgrading your units, researching new tech, hiring mercenaries, and maybe just playing an arcade game or two in the cantina, which is actually possible. I'll talk about some of the areas. The armory, in there you spend credits you get for completing missions to upgrade your troops. They took a little bit of the monotony away from researching from the single player to make it a more immersive experience by having you spend credits to do research. You still research stuff all on the battlefield, of course, actually in the RTS version of the game, but it's not as much as, say, the multiplayer or the old game. They focused more on you experiencing the story as well as fighting. So you actually spend credits to research additional upgrades while you're on the Hyperion itself, which is both a new stratagem for them. So if, when you're doing hard modes, which upgrades you buy for specific units will help you in the hard mode mission you're about to do. So you really have to plan strategically on how you spend your credits, as well as buying the mercenaries, which is a pretty cool new feature, so you can directly drop in some elite hardcore versions of units you already have that are pretty much going to wreck the floor or wipe the floor with the enemy, which is pretty cool. So the armory is where you're going to handle all the upgrades, and actually mercenaries are hired in the cantina, as well as you can play an arcade game in there, and obviously talk to people and drink and so on and so forth, and just be social. You can watch the TV in there. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of propaganda and stuff against the Raiders. That's Minsk's main weapon against the Raiders, is actually propaganda. A lot of humor. Blizzard always likes to throw their humor in there, so you'll see a lot of humor and definitely a ton of references to the old game. You can go to the laboratory, as completing secondary objectives in the missions offers research points, whether Protoss or Zerg, based on the mission. Since you're Terran, you're actually researching things about the other races to improve your weapon systems, like know thine enemy, know thyself, so on and so forth, so you can kill more effectively. And the Zerg tree unlocks specific units and upgrades, and the Protoss tree unlocks specific units and upgrades, and you'll spend research points accordingly. So and it forces you to make choices, because once you plateau to a certain level, you have to pick between 2 different abilities, and once you pick one, you can't get the other one. A lot of choices in this game, so it's very interesting. Like I said, the RPG aspects, you'll bring your characters on your ship, they'll go off the ship or stay, depending on choices, depending on which missions you take. But speaking of missions, you can go back to the bridge, you can select what missions you want to do, you can talk to your second in command, which is a very interesting person. You'll learn more about as you play the game. And select what planet you want to go to. You are actually unlocking units for most of the single-player campaign. And the reason I say this is because every planet you pick and where you choose to go will base what units you get. As you beat a mission on a specific planet, you will have an unlock. And the unlock will be a specific unit, as well as more additional storyline for the game itself.